Most people think a Sigma male is unbreakable, the lone wolf who never shows weakness, never lets anyone in, never needs to. But the truth is more complex. Behind that composure lies a heart that's been burned enough times to learn silence as self-defense. When a Sigma finally lets his guard down, it's not because he's weak. It's because he's strong enough to risk being seen, truly seen. And what happens next isn't a breakdown, it's a revelation. This video isn't about how a Sigma falls. It's about what unfolds when the walls come down and the man behind the armor finally breathes without fear of betrayal. Because the moment a Sigma male opens up, everything changes. His relationships, his focus, his power. If you're someone who's ever hidden your emotions just to protect your peace, this one's for you. Make sure to subscribe to UltraWise, because here we decode the real psychology behind quiet strength and why it's never about ego, it's about evolution. Question for you, have you ever trusted someone enough to let your guard down, and did it make you stronger or softer? Share your story in the comments below. The weight behind the armor. Every Sigma male carries an invisible armor, forged not from arrogance, but from survival. It's the kind of shield built after too many betrayals, too many moments when vulnerability was mistaken for weakness. He's learned to keep his emotions guarded, his thoughts private, and his intentions unreadable. But what most people never realize is that this armor, while strong, is heavy. Behind that calm exterior lies a man who has grown tired of holding everything together alone. The weight of always being the strong one, the observer, the one who never falters. It takes its toll. He wears that strength so well that no one ever asks if it's costing him something. And it is. Over time, silence becomes both a weapon and a prison. The Sigma male learns to protect his peace so fiercely that even comfort starts to feel dangerous. Every relationship, every new connection becomes a test, not of the other person's intentions, but of his own ability to trust again. He's been through emotional wars that most people couldn't survive, yet he moves through life as if untouched. What they don't see are the nights when his thoughts spiral, when his control feels more like confinement, when he wonders if peace is possible without isolation. Letting his guard down isn't easy. It's not an impulsive act, it's a quiet decision made after deep reflection. It happens in small moments. A shared silence, an honest gaze, a feeling that someone sees him without needing to understand every layer. And for a Sigma, that's monumental, because when he finally lowers his armor, it's not out of desperation, it's out of evolution. It's a moment of courage where he risks being real instead of being safe. And in that rare moment of openness, something profound happens. He realizes that strength isn't about how much pain he can endure. It's about how much truth he can carry without hiding behind it. For the first time, the armor doesn't define him. The man beneath it does. Trust is a calculated risk. For a Sigma male, trust isn't an emotion, it's an equation. He doesn't hand it out like a gift. He measures it, studies it, and calculates the potential fallout long before he ever decides to open up. Every time someone gets close, his mind runs silent simulations, testing scenarios, gauging reactions, predicting outcomes. This isn't paranoia, it's protection. Years of observing human behavior have taught him one brutal truth. People rarely value what they didn't earn. That's why his trust, once given, feels sacred, because it's not impulsive. It's intentional. He's been in situations where his loyalty was mistaken for blindness, where his empathy was exploited by those who mistook his calm for weakness. So now every interaction carries a quiet filter. He listens more than he speaks. He notices inconsistencies, tone, timing, energy. He reads between words, between smiles, between silences. Trust, to him, is not about believing what someone says, It's about feeling the alignment between their energy and their action. And when something doesn't match, he withdraws not with anger, but with finality. But when someone earns that trust, when they prove they can meet him without masks or manipulation, the transformation is subtle yet seismic. The Sigma's guard softens. His words grow slower, his presence warmer. He begins to share fragments of his world, not all at once, but piece by piece, as if testing how much reality the connection can hold. To him, trust isn't about vulnerability. It's about safety, the rare kind that allows him to be seen without performance. Still, even at his most open, he never loses awareness. Trust for him is never blind. It's a living, breathing contract of mutual respect. He knows that giving someone access to his peace is one of the greatest risks he can take, but it's also the only way to evolve beyond the confines of solitude. So, when a Sigma male decides to trust, it's not because he needs someone to save him. It's because he's finally met someone who doesn't threaten what he's built. They enhance it. The shift from control to connection. For most of his life, the Sigma male's survival has depended on control. Control of his emotions, his environment, and his reactions. It's how he's kept chaos at bay. Control gave him structure in a world that rarely made sense. It helped him survive heartbreaks that would have shattered most people. But eventually, something shifts. He realizes that control may protect him from pain, but it also protects him from joy. It shields him from betrayal, but it also blocks real connection. The walls he built to stay safe start feeling more like barriers, keeping him from being fully alive. When this realization hits, it's not dramatic, it's quiet. It comes after countless moments of emotional restraint, after watching people drift away because he refused to let them close. He starts noticing that control has turned him into a spectator of his own life, watching everything, feeling little. That's when he begins to understand that real power isn't in controlling outcomes, but in trusting his ability to adapt to them. So little by little he loosens his grip. The shift doesn't mean he becomes reckless or naive. The Sigma male doesn't suddenly start oversharing or seeking validation. Instead, his control evolves from defense to direction. He stops managing every emotion and starts allowing them to flow through him. When he feels anger, he studies it. When he feels affection, he allows it. When he feels fear, he doesn't suppress it. He analyzes it until it loses its power. In doing so, he transitions from a man surviving the world to one engaging with it. Connection, for him, becomes a form of mastery, a way to deepen understanding rather than dilute strength. He learns that letting someone in doesn't mean losing himself. It means expanding the parts of himself that had been dormant. Control once gave him dominance over chaos, but connection gives him harmony with it. And that, to a Sigma male, is evolution. Because when he finally chooses connection over control, it's not a loss of power. It's the highest form of it. It's the moment he realizes that being unguarded doesn't make him weak, it makes him human, and for the first time, free. Emotional transparency without weakness. For the Sigma male, showing emotion has always felt like walking a tightrope. One wrong move, and the world mistakes his depth for fragility. He learned early that people exploit vulnerability, twisting sincerity into leverage, so he adapted. He mastered the art of the unreadable face, the calm tone, the detached stare that hides a storm beneath. Yet beneath that control lies a paradox. He feels deeply, often more than anyone in the room. He just refuses to perform it. But when he begins to heal, something changes. He starts realizing that emotional transparency doesn't mean emotional exposure. There's a quiet strength in expressing what he feels without losing his center. Transparency to him becomes precision, choosing when, how, and to whom he reveals himself. He no longer overshares, nor does he suppress. He simply communicates truth without decoration. There is no drama in his voice, no need for validation, just clarity. And that clarity unnerves people who rely on emotional games to feel powerful. Being transparent without weakness means he can say, "That hurt me," without crumbling. He can express affection without attachment, disappointment without resentment. His emotions are no longer weapons others can use. They're instruments he controls with mastery. This shift is subtle but profound. He stops reacting and starts revealing. His honesty becomes his armor, not his wound. People around him sense the difference. Some respect it, others retreat, unable to manipulate what they can no longer predict. His presence becomes magnetic, not because he hides emotion, but because he owns it. He has learned that the strongest man in the room isn't the one who feels nothing, but the one who can face everything and remain balanced. In a world that glorifies emotional performance or complete detachment, the Sigma male becomes something rare, a man who feels deeply and yet remains grounded. His transparency isn't weakness, it's emotional discipline. It's proof that authenticity doesn't require vulnerability to be exploited, it requires integrity to be maintained. And when he looks in the mirror, for the first time in years, he doesn't see armor. He sees alignment, a man who finally mastered his emotions instead of being mastered by them. When solitude meets intimacy, for most Sigma males, solitude isn't a phase, it's home. It's where they think, recharge, and rebuild after the world's noise wears them down. Alone, they find order. Alone, they feel peace. But when intimacy enters the picture, that sacred balance is tested. Suddenly, someone is close enough to disturb the silence, to touch the inner world he spent years protecting. And that's when the internal conflict begins. How do you let someone in without losing yourself? For a Sigma male, intimacy isn't about physical closeness. It's about energetic trust. It's about finding someone whose presence doesn't drain his focus, but deepens it. Someone who understands that his quiet isn't distance, it's depth. Yet, even when he meets that rare person, the process of merging solitude with intimacy feels like learning to breathe underwater. He has to unlearn the instinct to retreat, to stop viewing comfort as complacency, and to recognize that connection doesn't have to threaten independence. The beauty of this balance is subtle. He starts realizing that intimacy doesn't destroy solitude, it can refine it. When shared with the right person, silence feels even more sacred. Two people can exist in the same space, doing nothing, saying nothing, yet feel everything. That's intimacy at its purest. No performance, no chase, just resonance. And when he reaches that level of connection, he doesn't lose his solitude, it evolves. He no longer uses isolation as armor. Instead, it becomes a foundation, a strong inner core from which he can give without depletion. He learns that real closeness doesn't demand constant presence. It thrives on mutual respect for space. And for a Sigma male, that realization changes everything. Because when solitude finally meets intimacy, it doesn't create dependency, it creates synergy. Two energies coexisting without collision, two souls aligned without control. And for the Sigma male, that's the ultimate paradox resolved, finding peace in both being alone and being known. The healing power of being understood. For the Sigma male, understanding has always been something he gives, not something he receives. He spent years reading people, deciphering motives, calming chaos, seeing what others couldn't even name. But few have ever returned that depth to him. The world often misreads his silence as arrogance, his independence as indifference. People see the surface, the calm, the control, the detachment, but rarely the storm beneath it. That kind of loneliness runs deep. It teaches him early that being understood is a luxury, not a guarantee. Then one day someone finally sees him, not the projection, but the person. They notice the small hesitations, the quiet ways he protects his peace, the way his eyes flicker before he decides whether to speak or stay silent. And instead of asking him to change, they simply understand. It's a moment that feels almost foreign to him. For a man who's built his life around self-reliance, being understood feels like standing in the sunlight after years underground. 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 Sounded. It's disorienting, but healing. Because true understanding isn't about fixing or decoding, it's about recognition. It's someone saying, I see how you operate, and it makes sense. And that simple acknowledgement begins to soften the hard edges he's built around his heart. For once, he doesn't have to explain his silence or justify his solitude. He doesn't need to shrink or expand to fit into someone else's expectations. He can just be. This kind of connection doesn't make him dependent. It makes him more complete. It reminds him that strength isn't only found in isolation, but also in resonance. To be understood is to be mirrored in the most human way possible. Not through words, but through energy. And for a Sigma male who has lived most of his life as an observer, that mirror becomes medicine. The healing power of being understood lies in its simplicity. It's not dramatic or loud, it's quiet. Like the moment you realize you're no longer alone in a language only you spoke. And once he experiences that, the Sigma male no longer fears connection. He welcomes it, not as a threat to his freedom, but as proof that some souls can meet him exactly where he is, without noise, without pretense, and without the need to fix what was never broken. The return of the guard, but smarter. When a Sigma male has been hurt, he doesn't rebuild the same wall twice, he rebuilds it better. The first time, his guard was emotional armor, forged from pain and self-preservation. But after healing, it becomes something sharper, wiser. Not a fortress, but a filter. The difference is subtle yet powerful. Before, he hid behind silence. Now he uses it strategically. Before, he distrusted everyone. Now he simply observes who earns access. His guard returns, yes, but this time it's not built out of fear. It's built from discernment. The healed Sigma no longer wastes energy defending himself from everything. He knows not every battle deserves his presence. Not every question deserves an answer. He's learned that power isn't about being untouchable, it's about being selective. His calm, once mistaken for coldness, now radiates quiet authority. People sense the difference. He's approachable, yet impenetrable. Open-minded, yet unyielding, and that balance draws respect without him demanding it. When he lets someone in, it's intentional. No more saving broken people or over-explaining his intentions to those who twist them. Every connection now passes through a silent test. Consistency, integrity, peace. If a person disrupts his equilibrium, he doesn't argue or explain, he disappears. His boundaries no longer shout, they simply exist. He's learned that protection doesn't have to be visible to be powerful. The smarter guard also changes how he moves in the world. He no longer hides his empathy. He just guards where it flows. He no longer fears love. He just ensures it's mutual. Every past betrayal, every disappointment, every moment of being misunderstood becomes data, not damage. He's emotionally encrypted now, transparent only with those who have proven they won't weaponize his truth. And yet, despite the guard's return, he's lighter than before. Because this version of protection doesn't come from bitterness, it comes from clarity. The Sigma male has realized that real power isn't about building higher walls, it's about knowing when to open the gate. The difference between isolation and peace is wisdom, and when his guard stands now, it doesn't separate him from the world. It simply keeps his world sacred. Evolved strength, leading with calm vulnerability. There comes a moment in every Sigma male's evolution when he realizes that real strength has nothing to do with resistance. It's about balance. The walls, the silence, the control, they served their purpose. They protected him when chaos surrounded him. But now, his strength no longer needs to prove itself. It has matured. It's quieter, steadier, and rooted in peace. He's no longer afraid to feel deeply or to show it, because vulnerability no longer feels like exposure. It feels like mastery. Calm vulnerability is the Sigma's final evolution. It's the stage where he no longer flinches at honesty, where he can say, "I'm tired, I care," or "that hurt me," without fearing it will be used against him. He's learned that control doesn't mean emotional suppression. It means knowing when and where to express. This evolution isn't about becoming softer. It's about becoming truer. His emotions no longer drive him blindly. They inform his decision. He's learned that power and openness can coexist, and that silence isn't always the strongest move. Sometimes speaking truth with grace is. People around him notice the difference. His presence no longer feels guarded. It feels grounded. He listens more, but worries less. He connects without clinging. He loves without losing himself. And in a world addicted to extremes, dominance or submission, attachment or avoidance, his calm vulnerability feels revolutionary. Because he has nothing to prove, he becomes magnetic. His strength lies in his serenity, his leadership in his empathy. This kind of strength doesn't shout. It doesn't chase validation or punish betrayal. It simply is. The evolved Sigma doesn't seek revenge on those who doubted him. He transcends them. He doesn't chase love. He attracts it, naturally, through his authenticity. His vulnerability, once his greatest fear, becomes his greatest filter. Only the genuine can meet him there. Evolved strength is when the Sigma male stops fighting battles that don't matter and starts embodying peace that speaks louder than conflict ever could. It's not about conquering others, it's about mastering himself. And when he leads from that place, people don't just follow him, they trust him. Because nothing commands more respect than a man who's strong enough to stay calm and brave enough to stay real. In the end, the Sigma male's journey isn't about dominance, revenge, or proving his worth to the world. It's about evolution. The quiet kind that happens when no one's watching. He learns, he breaks, he rebuilds, and he rises again, but differently each time. The man who once hid behind walls now walks through life with calm certainty. Stronger, not colder. Wiser, not harder. His peace becomes his legacy. If you've ever felt like you had to carry your strength in silence, if you've ever outgrown people who misunderstood your calm for weakness, this story was for you. You're not detached. You're disciplined. You're not emotionless. You've simply learned that peace costs less than proving a point. Because real power isn't about how loud you roar. It's about how steady you remain when the world tests you again. And that's the mark of every Sigma who's done playing small. If this video resonated with you, subscribe to UltraWise. Join a community that understands your depth, your silence, and your evolution. Leave a comment below. Do you think strength comes from control or from calm? Your voice might just be the one someone else needed to hear today.